A bodybuilder stumbled on this picture of Arnold Schwarzenegger and instantly became depressed. He had been lifting for 5 years, but even with his strict workout routine, he wasn't gaining muscle mass as quickly as he wanted. So he came up with this crazy idea: to dry scoop his pre-workout instead of dissolving it in water. But it did something scary to his brain. Dry scooping is pouring pre-workout powder directly into the mouth without mixing it with liquid first. Many in the bodybuilding community believe that taking it this way ensures faster absorption as the supplement bypasses the digestive process to hit the bloodstream more quickly. PP believed this too. One morning, he grabbed the supplement, opened it, and dished out 2 full scoops into his mouth. And immediately, the powder enveloped his tongue, burned his throat, and made him cough hard. But PP forced himself to swallow. If this was what it took to get gains like Arnold, then darn the consequences. PP felt supercharged for his workout session, and there and then, he decided dry scooping was going to be his modus operandi. One day, he thought to himself, if 2 dry scoops make me feel this pumped, what will 4 do? Without hesitation, PP poured 4 dry scoops into his mouth, one after another. This time the powder clogged his throat, making it difficult for him to breathe. As he gasped for air, he quickly grabbed a bottle of water he'd already mixed with 4 scoops of pre-workout supplement and gulped it down. 8 scoops total, 4 times the recommended dose. PP headed to the gym, feeling invincible. But minutes into his workout, he began to feel unwell. Sweat poured down his face. His heart hammered against his ribs. His hands trembled uncontrollably, and his eyes felt like they were bulging out of their sockets. The fluorescent gym lights seemed painfully bright, and there was a persistent ringing in his ears. What he just consumed was a potentially lethal combination: 2,400 millimilligallons of caffeine, equivalent to 24 cups of coffee, 16 grams of creatine, 8 times the recommended daily dose, and a proprietary Focus Energy blend loaded with stimulants. At these doses, these ingredients can trigger dangerous spikes in blood pressure, heart arrhythmias, and even seizures. PP tried to push through another set of bench presses, but a splitting headache hit him hard. The pain was unlike anything he'd experienced before, sharp, intense, and accompanied by a strange pressure that made him feel like his skull was in a vice grip. Realizing something was seriously wrong, he decided to rush home. At home, PP convinced himself that all he needed was some rest, but as he lay down, his heart started racing even faster, feeling like it might explode. His vision blurred, and the room began to spin. He struggled to get to the living room to call for help, but collapsed on the floor and lost consciousness. His mother, hearing the thud from downstairs, rushed in to find her son convulsing. She immediately dialed 911. In the emergency room, doctors were puzzled. They didn't know about the 8 scoops of pre-workout supplement PP had taken. All they knew was that his heart rate was dangerously high, and their automatic blood pressure machine couldn't get a reading. At this point, the only way to check his blood pressure was to measure it manually. A nurse slapped on a manual cuff, pumped it up, and when she checked the gauge, the reading was 330 over 180, nearly triple the normal range, so high that the digital BP machine couldn't detect it. In a healthy adult, such extreme blood pressure usually suggests substance abuse, but the tox screen came back negative for illegal drugs. Blood tests showed no obvious abnormalities. His heart was beating erratically, suggesting a cardiac problem, but during examination, doctors noticed a critical detail they had missed. One of his pupils was dilated. Since pupil size is controlled by the brain, not the heart, this new finding prompted them to send PP in for an immediate brain scan. The results were unexpected. PP had multiple areas of bleeding in his brain. Because the brain is enclosed in the rigid skull, there was nowhere for the leaking blood to go. Every single drop that leaked out was creating more and more pressure, crushing delicate brain tissue against the skull. This mounting pressure was causing his severe headache and eye pain. If left untreated, the increasing pressure would cause more blood vessels to rupture and led to permanent brain damage or death. To save PP, the doctors need to reduce the intense pressure building up inside his skull. And to do that, they need to drain the excess fluid out of his brain tissue. Their solution would come from basic chemistry. Fluids naturally flow towards areas with higher salt concentrations. Think of the simple experiment many of us did in school. If you place a carrot in salt water, it becomes limp because the water inside the carrot flows out towards the saltier solution. The same principle works in our bodies at a cellular level. So as a temporary fix, the medical team immediately started an IV drip of hypertonic saline, essentially super concentrated salt water. This would create an osmotic gradient, causing the fluid in his brain to flow out to meet the saltier fluid introduced to the body, and as a result, reduce the dangerous pressure in his brain. Within hours, PP's breathing started to calm down, and his sky-high blood pressure began to drop. But the medical team still had no clue what had caused this crisis in the first place. As they're brainstorming, PP's mom finds a video on his phone of him dry scooping pre-workout powder. She has no idea what he's taking, so she shows it to the doctors, and that's when everything clicks. Caffeine is a powerful stimulant that boosts adrenaline, making the heart race. By dry scooping 8 servings of pre-workout in minutes, PP had ingested the equivalent of 24 cups of coffee, about 20,400 milligrams of caffeine. But the real danger came from a substance called beta-phenylethylamine, BPEA, an amphetamine-like stimulant hidden in the supplement's proprietary energy blend. Normally, when taken in small amounts, the body's enzymes can break down BPEA without a problem. Think of it like a sink with a properly working drain. Water flows in and drains out smoothly. But by taking 8 scoops, PP overwhelmed his body's ability to process the BPEA. It was like dumping 8 buckets of water into the sink at once. The drain couldn't keep up and it overflowed. PP's system couldn't break down the BPEA fast enough, so it kept stimulating his nerve cells, causing them to fire rapidly and continuously. These signals then told his blood vessels to constrict while his heart raced faster dramatically, increasing his blood pressure. And when he started working out, the physical exertion added even more stress to his already strained cardiovascular system. The excessive pressure in his blood vessels eventually became too much, causing them to rupture in his brain. Once the doctors figured this out, they rushed him into surgery to definitively address the swelling in his skull. On the surgical table, they performed a decompressive craniectomy, removing parts of his skull to give his swollen brain room to expand without causing further damage. This procedure, while dramatic, was necessary to prevent permanent damage to his brain. Thanks to his youth and previously good health record, PP made a full recovery. After 3 weeks in the hospital and 2 months of rehabilitation, he returned to normal life, though with a dramatically different perspective on bodybuilding supplements. PP's case sparked intense debate in the bodybuilding community about the safety of pre-workout supplements and the practice of dry scooping. While these supplements are legal and widely used, they remain largely unregulated. Many contain proprietary blends with undisclosed amounts of ingredients, making it difficult for users to know exactly what they're consuming. What many bodybuilders don't realize is that more isn't always better when it comes to supplements. Research shows that caffeine's performance-enhancing effects plateau at around 36 milligrams per kilogram of body weight. Beyond this point, additional caffeine doesn't improve performance, but dramatically increases health risks. Similarly, the body can only process about 2 to 3 grams of creatine per day. Any excess is simply wasted and puts strain on the kidneys. Perhaps most controversially, studies suggest that regular pre-workout supplement use can lead to tolerance requiring increasingly larger doses to achieve the same effect. This creates a dangerous cycle where users might be tempted to exceed recommended doses just as PP did. Some researchers have even drawn parallels between this pattern and addiction-seeking behavior. Today, PP still works out, but he's abandoned his quest for overnight transformation. He understands now that true fitness is a marathon, not a sprint. He's become an advocate for supplement safety, sharing his story to warn others about the dangers of supplement abuse. His message is clear: there are no shortcuts to becoming the next Arnold Schwarzenegger, and trying to find one might cost you your life. Just because something is legal and widely available doesn't mean it's safe to abuse. As PP learned, the path to physical transformation should be paved with patience, knowledge, and respect for our body's limitations.